I feel like I look crooked. Also, I feel like I look washed out. I don't know. So I've tried filming this like a few times already, and I don't know, I'm just not really feeling it. So I just need to like see how this goes. But yeah, I guess first and foremost, like change the scenery. I'm in my living room right now. I didn't feel like being in my gaming room. So yeah, it's a little bit different, but whatever. I just feel like being in a chill area. So I've been in a bad mood lately, like today and yesterday, and once again, like I said in one of my older videos, if I get into a bad mood, it's really just because like I'm getting in a funk, you know? But I figured since I'm in a bad mood, I might as well just like explain this, like rip the band-aid off in a sense, you know, because it's just something that I've been wanting to do. So yeah, that way like I can stop talking about it with like random people, and you know, like all of you guys know collectively why I ended up deciding to not be a therapist anymore, you know? So hopefully this isn't long. I'm gonna try to give like a cliff note version of it, but you know me, like I know how to make like something short into a very long story. I'm very wordy. So for starters, if you didn't know, in order to become a therapist, you have to go to grad school. After you're done with grad school, there's a bunch of exams and a bunch of things you have to do in order to maintain licensure, right? So you go to grad school. Usually your grad program has like an exit exam. After the exit exam, you have to do a law and ethics exam. And you do this when you are an AMFT. When you're an AMFT, that means you're an associate marriage family therapist. So you apply for that automatically right after grad school. And then you have to pass the law and ethics exam. And then after you're done with the law and ethics exam, you have to take one more exam in order to become actually licensed. And that is to become an LMFT. When you are an LMFT, that means you have completed a total of 3,000 hours. On top of grad school, that means and on top of those exams, you've completed a total of 3,000 hours of seeing clients face-to-face. So dealing with clients face-to-face. Each session is roughly about an hour, right? So do the math, it takes a minute to become licensed. On top of doing the 3,000 hours, and some of them being specific as to having children hours or couples hours or group hours, on top of individual therapy hours, you have to take an overall exam in order to become licensed. So it's a lot of stuff in order to become an actual therapist, you know? And I guess just for starters, I am speaking off of what I consider to be a therapist, which is a marriage family therapist. I'm not speaking on behalf of social workers because that's a whole different story. And I'm not speaking on the behalf of licensed professional clinical counselors or APCCs, because that is also another thing that is a little bit different, but very similar to MFTs, I believe, more than social workers. So I'm speaking more on the MFT side. And I guess in addition to this, it's also very important to know most grad programs for becoming a therapist kind of vary, and you can kind of tell with certain things, I think. But for the most part, with grad programs, they're usually around like 2 to 3 years, depending on what it is. Maybe sometimes a little bit shorter if you're doing it online, I think. My specific grad program was 3 years, so it was a little bit longer, an extra year that really technically wasn't needed, but like the way my program was built, it actually had a clinic set up inside of the school where like while you're still becoming while you're still getting your degree, your master's degree, you are actively dealing with people in the community. So, you know, it was really a great experience, at least that bit, you know, getting to dip your foot in the water and deal with like real life clients instead of like role playing and stuff like that. So my program was a little bit longer for that reason. So I applied for the grad program in my school really kind of as like a last minute thing, I guess. When I finished my bachelor's, I immediately went into grad school. And at the time, I really wanted to be a clinical psychologist, which is somewhat similar to therapy. I know a lot of clinical psychologists can become therapists, but I didn't really have like a school that like, you know, fit well with me, I think. And then on top of it, I feel like I didn't want to leave the city I was in because I wasn't ready for that. I was still pretty young. I was the youngest in my cohort. I think I was like 22 when I started grad school. And I ended up deciding, like, I don't know what to do. So I was like researching things and doing whatever. And like, I was like, oh wait, therapy is basically what I want to do still as like a clinical psychologist. But, it's a little bit more talky, hands-on, whatever. So, but it's still something I was very passionate about because I knew that I wanted to like help people at the end of the day. I wanted to be there for people that have experienced a lot of the things that I've experienced. And I wanted to kind of be like that support that I feel like I never had as a child and as a teenager and as an early adult. So I knew it was something I really, really wanted to do. I just didn't know that it was really like something that was attainable other than becoming a clinical psychologist at the time. So doing some research and stuff like that, I was like, wait, my local, university has this, program, like, and it seems pretty well. It seems pretty cool. Let me research into it, do whatever. And then like, I ended up just like applying and it was like already late. It's funny because like I had some really, really close friends in undergrad. We finished all of undergrad together and we all ended up deciding to apply together. And we were all late with it, and this should have been like red flag number 1, right? But whatever. We were all late, past the deadline of applying, and we apply and we ended up getting in still, application process is very, very stringent. It's like, a personal statement, letters of references and recommendations, and, you have to do your resume and you have to do like, an actual interview with them. It's very, it's a very long process. I felt like shit doing my interview. I just felt like I wasn't doing good, like whatever. But long story short, I ended up getting in even though I applied hella late, and me and my friends all got in. It was like such like a good thing, right? Fast forward to when school starts. Once again, no breaks, just had summer off, immediately go into grad school. And I'm there and it was cool and all, but then like something just didn't feel right. And like, this is the thing, like trust your intuition. Like I just felt like whatever, like, I was like, oh, this is cool, but it's like, it's a lot of work, which, I was expecting a lot of reading, a lot of writing, they were on average 10 to 20 pages for a paper, weekly, pretty much. It was one of those things where I knew there was gonna be a lot of work, but I just didn't think I kind of had a full grasp of like how that would come into play with how different teachers teach and what will be going on with like the certain classes and how they apply those things, you know what I mean? Grad schools, at least my grad program, was very different than my undergrad program. I was like, oh, grad school's gonna be more serious, it's gonna be more of a vibe, it's gonna be more like, structured. My experience, it wasn't, so like during this time I feel like I got really depressed, and which is normal when you're adjusting to like a new dynamic and in a new thing. It was definitely me adjusting to a lot of things. A lot of stuff happened in my personal life where I got kicked out of my house with my parents, and I ended up moving in with my partner, and that was one of those things that I just didn't feel like it was my choice, and there's other things with, other situations that deal with my family stuff. And then on top of it, like I wasn't comfortable with the fact of it being a cohort, because I'm very private as a person, at least at the time I was. I feel like I've worked on myself more to be able to share stuff like I'm doing right now. So it was a cohort, and that was something that I thought I would be okay with, but like just being around people that you don't really get along with, or you can tell aren't like really, that great of people in a sense, are close to you for 3 years. It seemed like very constricting to me. So I had to adjust to that, and something I wasn't used to because I grew up as a military brat too. So I'm not used to being with a set group of people for a very long time. So that was another thing that was very hard for me to kind of deal with. I just didn't really get along with a few of the people there. Like they just seemed like, my cohort specifically didn't seem like, and I say this even to the end of the day, and this isn't to toot my horn or anything, but like a lot of them shouldn't have graduated in terms of like skills and in terms of like personality, like, you know what I mean? And like, yes, there's a bunch of different therapists that have different skills and everything like that. I get it. And they may be good for those people that need their certain personalities. But I think in terms of like us having to witness people, because we had double glass mirrors, I guess, in a sense, when we were doing therapy, and we had to observe people every week and just like write down notes about what they did wrong, what they did right. And then we would have to have supervision at the end of the week. And then we had to like dissect like our recording of the session, which the clients knew about, and say what you did wrong and right, with the licensed therapist and their classmates. So we had to like be very constructive, you know? It was one of those things where I feel like none of them really were suited to be therapists, in my opinion. I was dealing with that and like, okay, well, like I'm grouped with these people for 3 years, so therefore it's like I'm kind of like identified as them in a sense. Once again, young mentality, adjusting to new things. These are just layers of things where I feel like, you know, I wanted to call it quits my second semester of my first year of grad school. And we didn't start seeing clients till second year. So see what I mean? Like, it's kind of like it continued for quite a minute. I wanted to call it quits. One of my friends ended up dropping out of the program for the same reason. Another person got dropped out because, like, you know, they got a DUI. Just a bunch of random shit. Like, people were kind of dropping like flies. And, like, you know, even with the teachers, they weren't really that much of great influences. There was some great ones, but some weren't. And long story short, they're not there anymore, thank God, because like the new batch of therapists coming in, hopefully they have some, like, you know, standards. Even then with the teachers, some of them were they would, for example, during our first semester, they would throw us in a thing we called a fishbowl, where you would do therapy, but like role play with people around you, like just to get an idea of like how you would, you know, become a therapist and stuff like that. And some of the teachers would actually go in there and say their real life problems about like, okay, my husband's like cheating on me, and like literally crying. And we're just like all new students within like our fucking 6th week of school. And we're like, what's going on? Like, we don't even know what to do. We don't even know the skills. You know what I mean? There was some stuff even regarding one of the main people that did my program getting involved with like, you know, very, very illegal stuff in terms of losing license stuff. Like, you know, like I'm not even going to get into that. But I just feel like overall, like my cohort and those 3 years were very challenging to me. I just didn't feel like I was into it, but I like gaslit myself into wanting to do it. Also because like when I talked to people, they were like, just go ahead and push forward and do it. You know, like you're already in it, you already got accepted, you're already done with your first semester, you're already done with your first year, you're already done with your second year, like just go ahead and do it. So I was like, fuck it, let me do it. But my plan was at the end of my grad program to go ahead and just stop doing it. I'm going to do it to get my degree, have something to fall back on, and that's it. I'm not going to go ahead and go into therapy. I'm not doing any of it. I guess before I go ahead and get into like the aftermath of graduating. So during our first year, we learned all the basics. Second year, we're still learning the basics, and then about like a little bit more advanced. And then we practice doing therapy with clients, like real life people who come to school, like low SES, and we give them therapy and, you know, as students. And then during our third year, we went ahead and we had an internship with people in the community. And these are people who have kind of contracts with our school, kind of like a tit for tat thing, you know? And long story short, I got accepted to go to, they kind of assign it to you in a sense. You give an idea of what you want and then they assign it to you. So I got assigned to like a local hospital. And with this hospital, we were all supposed to start within our first month of our third year, so August. And I didn't start until November. So we had to get a certain amount of hours by the end of graduating in order to kind of, you know, graduate, you know? And I was 3 months behind, August, September, October, 3 months behind because my internship place kind of dropped the ball and I had to be like the one advocating for myself, which is fine. I have no issue with it. But every time I brought it up to like the head of my department, my graduate department, and I talked to all the people who were in charge, like they all just kept on throwing it off. So I had to get like kind of really like abrasive, like, hey guys, like these are my hours. I'm not able to get them. Like it's gonna fuck with me graduating, you know? And like none of them took it seriously and they thought I was all like rude. And like I basically got like black sheeped from like my program because like none of them liked the fact that I was upset about it. But like, you know, I was upset because all the fellow classmates were getting all their hours. Well, not all of them, but they were getting a good chunk. I was getting behind. And then on top of it, like, you know, I'm the one who's going to probably not graduate because like you guys aren't helping me out. And I was begging for like other places around town. No one was like helping me like walk into this when like that's kind of like what they, you know, pride themselves in terms of the program. And it was just frustrating. And then on top of it, you know, with this, like I even asked, because you can either be someone doing an internship outside of the campus, or you can go ahead and you can be a manager in the clinic while you're on campus, basically staying in the same thing, doing therapy, but then you have more responsibilities, you know what I mean? But I wanted to grow, so I was like, let me go ahead and go out there, because county is different. Mental health is different in a hospital, mental health is different in county, mental health is different, and all these things. I need to get my foot dipped into the water because I need to be realistic about this. So yeah, I ended up going ahead and asking them like, hey, can I go ahead and be in the clinic instead since I'm having all these issues and like, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, no, you can't, blah, 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 blah. But then they went ahead and one of the teachers who was not even a licensed therapist went ahead and decided to take on their own clients that were at the clinic. They were a doctor, they weren't a licensed therapist, and they went ahead and decided to be taking clients on in the clinic to gain hours for their licensure, knowing that I haven't even started yet, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was just like a big old thing, and it just like made me really fucking depressed. And I was like, I should have left my first year, I should have left my second year, I should, you know what I mean, like whatever. I ended up like finishing, you know, things worked out. The hospital I was at was very like busy in terms of other places, very fast paced, and it was fine. I ended up not really knowing what I wanted to do afterwards, but I ended up going ahead and you know, just going with flow, and I decided that at the end of everything I wanted to just not be a therapist, not work. Like I needed a break, I needed to figure out what to do. At least I have this as a backup. When I finished school, I was like, I'm not gonna go ahead and get into anything. Like the world was pretty much shut down at the point because of COVID. And I was like, I'm not gonna get into it. I don't feel like getting into it. Like I feel like, you know, the experience was just like not really something that I feel like I should have went through, but like whatever. But then like I still had like the passion of wanting to help people and do things, you know? But I was just like, I need a break for myself to figure it out. I ended up getting contacted by my supervisor for my internship pretty much like a month into after graduating, and he asked me like if I wanted to work for them because like they have a position open, blah 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 blah, and basically was offering me the job hands down. Like don't need to do an interview, don't need to do whatever. And that seems like a dream, you know what I mean? Like it seems like everything seemed like a dream so far. Like, okay, like you get accepted into grad school right after getting a bachelor's. You go ahead and, you know, you get into an internship and it works out still, even though you had all this trouble. You get into, you know, you get offered a job like immediately and they have really good benefits and you get paid like a decent amount. And like, you know, especially for it being like your real life, you know, like first job, not like retail and whatever. And I didn't want to do it, but like stuff just happened in like my personal life where I was like, I feel like I need to, you know, like I feel like I have to, because like I feel like I'm being looked at in a different way. I feel like things are like, you know, being put on me like negatively, and like, you know, like family members and like really close loved ones who are just like putting stuff like about my character and just making me feel like shit for not wanting to work. So I just feel like pressured in a sense. Especially because like everything was up in the air because once again lockdown and whatever. So I was like, fuck it, like I'm gonna do it. Who would be stupid enough to like turn down this opportunity? You know what I mean? A free job falls into your lap, everyone would kill for this. Do it. So I was like, fuck it, let me do it. I ended up working there, and immediately it was just like weird vibes. Like all the people who were there that I was a student with switched fucking attitudes, switched vibes. They just didn't fucking care. They were very rude and very mean. They ended up like making up all these fucking rumors about me. And these are people who were working on their licensure but almost pretty much done. And I have one very close friend, and she ended up getting licensed and ended up leaving the hospital I was at because like my supervisor would favor the other ones and make her do all the work, and she would be there after hours for a very long time. And you know, he didn't want to give her a raise when she became licensed, all this random shit, right? And like even then when I was a student, like it should have been a red flag, like taking forever to get into this place. But then on top of it, like I was always left alone manning the floor and dealing with crisis situations as a student when I should have had like upper ups with me and stuff like that. They ended up switching it later on down the line. But with me, it's like they had a lot of trust in me, you know what I mean? They all pretty much liked me in the beginning. And I don't know what switched other than the fact that once that therapist left, and the other ones were there. They just had like a power trip. You know what I mean? They just thought that they were in charge. They thought whatever. They treated me like shit because I'm the youngest and they're all like, you know, in 30s, 40s, and like I'm new into the fucking field. And like for the most part, all the doctors and the nurses were complimenting me, and all my clients were like, you know, were like really like persistent with me. They didn't no-show me. My caseload was racking up, and they weren't like I didn't constantly have to get people, and like people were requesting me from the doctors. A bunch of things that were just happening because of just being a therapist. These people just took their insecurities out on me and threw it in my face, you know? And around this time, you know, a new batch of students came, and I was helping a lot of them because they were in the same program as me. And we kind of had like that bond in a sense of knowing kind of like the same teachers and stuff like that in the process. And I was helping them because like, this is what I had to do. This is what I had to do. Because it was very weird in terms of filling out hours and exams and all this other stuff. So I was kind of like being a guidance to them. And I have a very, very close friend, Jessica, if you're watching this, you know it's you, who I ended up bonding with very well over. And for some reason, like, she was one of the people too where they ended up like hating her and talking all this shit about her, like those other people. And okay, hi, editing me. So I guess like I wanted to enter this here, but like this student, like literally her cat got sick and it was really bad. And like, hello, like pets are like children, you know what I mean? And instead of them being supportive, they got mad that she wasn't there, like helping them and doing their job basically. And they talked all this shit and they're like, who cares? It's just a cat and blah, 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 blah. Like, you guys are therapists apparently and you guys are doing this? Like, whatever, super fucked up. And see, Ketchup's even in the background fucking like agreeing with it, like whatever. Okay, bye. Back to the video. I can go on and on about them, but I'm not really going to because it's not worth it. You know, the fact that they were just always calling out, the fact that they never did their job, the fact that their clients would have to get switched to me and I would take it on, the fact that I would have to be there over hours all the time because they didn't want to do their job, the fact that, you know, all this other stuff. And my boss kept on letting it get egged on and he didn't care. He was like the one in the back letting it happen and basically like getting his kicks off of it. So all these people ended up leaving because they realized that I wasn't going to budge and that I wasn't impacted by them doing what they're doing. You know, like it is what it is. I am still in here. I'm here to work. I'm not here to really make friends or anything like that. I'm here to be a therapist. I've already put this much effort into it. Let me continue doing it, you know? And we can work together. We don't have to get along. We don't have to be best friends, whatever. So they all got offended by it and they all ended up quitting on the same day and fucked me over. So all these people that my boss favored over me and that tried getting me fired multiple times because they just didn't like the fact that I was like favored by clients and just overall well liked, I guess, quit, and they left on the same day. And I was the only one there dealing with my own clients, having to take on all of their clients and figure that out, train all the new students that my boss decided to take in early, train the new staff that came in, and then also deal with all the crisis calls in the whole hospital. And you know, like I dealt with all this. I was like, I don't know, I just dealt with it. You know, it is what it is. And my boss wasn't there to help me out with any of it. You know, he's the one getting salary. He's the one getting paid like more than fucking $100,000 a year for not being there. And I'm the one doing it. And I'm like, you know what, it is what it is. Like, I'm a decent worker. It is what it is. Like, I'm in it for the people. I'm not in it for, you know, whatever. So that was another sign I think I should have quit. Another side note is one of those therapists that ended up leaving, because there was a total of 3 that left all at once and they blamed me for leaving. Like, because fast forward, like HR ended up telling me that about me, like I was on their radar for being a bad person because of that, because they all framed me. One of the people that my boss ended up hiring was one of the students at the time who was still actively a student. And he was like, hey, like, I'm going to hire this person. Do any of you guys know this person? And the student was like, yeah, like, that's my therapist. Like, my actual therapist that I see. He was like, oh, okay. And like, you would think like, okay, no, that's going to make a weird dynamic. Like, this is the contract the student has. They're here for whatever. This person cannot work here because they're best friends with this other person at the job already. And then on top of it, they are the student's therapist. Like, they shouldn't work here. Ethically, they shouldn't work here. There's a lot of weird dynamics. Plus, that person who was the best friends with this therapist he was going to hire didn't like that student, you know? So it's like, why? This is just so fucked up. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, okay. And he ends up hiring her. He ends up hiring her. And of course that brought in a lot of fucking drama and a lot of weird vibes. It was just so weird. So like, once again, another reason why I should have left, but I didn't. Whatever. And that's because I had people in the back, you know, telling me, push through, you know? And this is what I mean, trust your intuition, because with me, this is what I'm saying. I need to be more selfish and do things that I need to do instead of like doing things because I can do them. And that's one of the things I said in the beginning of the year. When I ended up quitting, I was like, just because I can survive something doesn't mean I have to do it. And that is one thing I want. If anything, you know, if anyone takes anything out of this, like that should be something you live by, because I've been through a lot of shitty situations with like abuse, like physical abuse from like a lot of people in my life. And mental abuse, and like, you know, even like shitty situations like the program thing and the situation with, you know, the internship and the job. Like, I feel like I could have avoided a lot of pain if I didn't force myself to stay in that situation, because I felt like, you know, well, I need to, or like I can do it. Like, I know I can, like a go-getter mentality. Like, I didn't have to do that. So that's one of my things I keep reminding myself in the back of my head. Just because I can survive it doesn't mean I have to. Just because I can do it doesn't mean I have to, you know? So that's what ended up like helping me quit, is like having that mentality plus like therapy, you know, and whatever. So yeah, since all of them left and they fucked me over, my boss ended up like fucking hating me, because like he was convinced that I was really the bad guy. He's like, well, all these people did this and like it makes me look bad and blah 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 blah, you know, whatever. So he ends up hating me, but then I'm still there doing his job and doing whatever, you know, and I'm like, whatever, like it seems like it's a new start. It's a new fresh start. I train all these new people coming in. Everything's great. And, you know, it's just like kind of stressful because there's a lot of students and a lot of people, and I didn't have the support from my boss, even in terms of like crisis stuff, where he says like, oh yeah, just give me a call and I'll help you and whatever. And it's like, he never did, you know, and I had to figure it out. And, you know, all this other stuff. So fast forward like a little bit on, right? Everything seemed like whatever, other than the fact that my boss really wasn't there and didn't give a fuck. And I just felt like I had a lot on my plate for the situation. Plus dealing with like everyday life, you know what I mean? Like personal stuff. Sorry, that's my dog. If you hear her kind of sneezing in the back, she's rubbing herself on the couch. You know, just dealing with like, bless you. Just dealing with like all the shit in general. And one of the people who ended up getting hired on she was weird. She was very weird. Like, she's very overly like, you know, one of those people who you can tell are very high school oriented, like fake, you know what I mean? And she got upset because like I didn't want to like basically be her best friend. I'm like, okay, we can be very cool and we can talk to each other, but like we don't need to like be glued to the hip. It's like she wanted like a sister or something like that, or a brother. Like she wanted like a best friend. Like you can tell she was desperate for like a connection, you know? And I'm like not comfortable with that. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing my job. We can be very cool. We can go out to eat. We can have lunch. We can do whatever. But like, I don't need to know stuff about like you haven't had like your vagina waxed. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to know about like the fact that your husband's not like fucking you. You know what I mean? So she very like boundaries were being crossed and it was weird. And then on top of it, like she didn't like working. Like she would deny all the fucking calls to go on the crisis calls, and I would have to be the one doing it. Or she would just complain 24/7 about my boss, or complain about how dirty it was in the facility, or like complain about the doctors, complain about the fact, like I remember one time we went to lunch and she complained about the fact that like I asked for tomatoes and they only gave me one tomato, like random shit. And I was like, okay, this girl is like an energy vampire. I need to go ahead and take a step back and just have a work relationship with her that's very healthy still, you know? And she didn't like that. So since she didn't like that, and she knew about all the history of everything that ever fucking went on at that place, because me and my boss have talked about it, you know, and she asked all those reasons, like, why is no one else here? Like, hell, she's gonna know why people left. She ended up going ahead and manipulating my boss into believing that I was the bad guy once again and treating her that way, because she didn't like the fact that I didn't want to be best friends with her. And she convinced like all these new people as well to go ahead and do that, because at the time, like, you know, like I said, I had that boundary up of like, I'm here to work, we'll be very cool, be very nice and professional, but like I don't want to be like super best friends right now. Like I can't do it, you know? And they all, like her and another guy, ended up just like telling on me to my boss, like making up this whole fabrication because they were like intimidated by me because I didn't want to be their best friends. And okay, so like I guess just like also another thing I wanted to add, because I didn't put it in here, is like I remember on my last day, these people are so fucking ugly and jealous and weird to the point like, you know, I furnished all 3 of the therapy rooms we had there that were like shared, one for each of us, and no one wanted to furnish it. And like our boss was too much of a fucking coward to ask like for the hospital to do it. So I was like, fuck it, let me do it. I don't care. I have the money for it. So like I bought the couches and the mirrors and everything like that because like I'm an environmental person, whatever. So on my last day when I ended up leaving, they get upset because I am taking back all the items that I bought. You know what I mean? Like, I bought the couches, I bought everything. So I'm taking it and I'm giving it away, I'm selling it, I'm doing whatever, And they literally have security get involved where I have to get escorted on my last day out because they're pulling like some Karen bullshit. And my boss is letting them do this to the point, even when I left, like months after, like the people that I gave like the couches to and everything like that, because I just gave them to nurses and stuff who need them, they were saying like how they're being harassed to return like the couches because, oops, I almost said the thing, because it's the hospital's it's the hospital's fucking property. In reality, it was mine. I was the one who bought it. I was the one who brought it in, bitch. Like, I figured it out, like, no, that just shows you how ugly these people are. Like, this just shows how weird you are. And these are people who are therapists, quote unquote. These are the people who, like, whatever. This is just part of the story. Bad place, bad people, bad situation. All of them shouldn't be there, but here they are practicing still. You know what I mean? Whatever. Long story short, it came to the point where my boss was like trying to, in a sense, not blackmail me, but like he didn't want to go ahead and sign off on the work that I was doing in order to get those 3,000 hours. You know what I mean? Like, by the time I quit, I basically just had like, bitch, I was almost done with my licensure. Like, almost done with my hours to get licensed. All I had to do was take the exam. Like, I could have been done by the end of the year. You know what I mean? And he didn't want to do any of it. I had to contact HR in order to go ahead and like get my paperwork signed because he was being stupid about it and like having his own fucking vendetta against me because of like him not liking me for making him look bad because everyone left, and now these other people are saying this because they don't like me. A lot of high school drama, whatever, and he's not even there to fucking listen to any of these things that ever happened, but like whatever. So like basically he didn't want to sign on my hours, so we had to come to a mutual agreement where I'm still getting fucked over on my hours, and I lost like a good chunk of hours, like 300, 500 maybe. But I was able to like go ahead and like get a decent amount because he didn't want to sign like basically like 1,500 to like 1,800 hours that I've worked for, and he fucking knew it, and whatever. So yeah, I had to end up like fucking fighting it, and we come to agreement that he's gonna do it, and I ended up putting in my fucking notice and quitting at the end of the year because I'm not dealing with it anymore. And like that was the end all be all for me, and even then, like during that fucking thing, like when we had the meeting with HR was telling me that I was like making everything up, and that like I'm just kind of like the bad one because everyone else reported me to HR, those 3 that left. And just like they were best friends, him and the HR person and the boss. Like there were so many weird dynamics there. I was like, this is not gonna fucking happen. And I didn't back down. So the fact that I didn't back down, they didn't like that either. You know what I mean? So anyway, he ended up having to sign off on my hours, ended up having to get in contact with fucking lawyers and all this other shit. Whatever, stupid. I'm not even gonna get into that because it's a whole different story. And long story short, even though we had these agreements of hours and he signed off on it, he kept on putting it off and avoiding me because he didn't want to like see me to like on my last days. But he was like that with all the other therapists who ended up leaving. Like he's not good with like goodbyes, I guess, in a sense. So I'm like, okay, it's one of those things, And when I ended up getting my paperwork from him, it turns out that I can literally go get the paperwork, like all my hours that he ended up signing off of. Technically, he went back on after he signed off on them in front of me and in front of the HR person and crossed them all out, like with a marker and like pins and stuff like that. Being a child, like he signed off on him, he was like, yeah, no. So then I'm back to getting fucked over 1,500 hours. You know what I mean? So at that time, I'm spiraling because I'm like, I'm already gone. I felt so hopeless. I'm talking to lawyers. It's hard to get in touch with a lawyer because no one wants to fucking like work and do their job. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I'm putting a fucking pin in it. I'm not dealing with it. I'm fucking hurt. I'm fucking like just ridiculed by all these fucking people over and over again. I did all this work and it's not paid off. I should have listened to my gut the very fucking first time and not fucking go through with this when I was in school. And then now I did all this thing and like wasted all my time, and I was so close, and this one person fucked it over because of their own fucking vendetta, and they're not even a good therapist because their fucking clients kill themselves, and they fucking like don't even show up to their clients coming up, and like their clients are waiting for 2 hours, and like these are the people who shouldn't be in the field, and like I'm the one who's getting targeted and getting fucked over. Meanwhile, all these other people are getting licensed under him, and like it's stupid. It's stupid. So I was like, you know what? I'm not doing it. I'm fucking quitting. I don't care. And then if I decide to get back into it, I'll get into it. I'll have to redo all the hours. I don't care. I'll do it because like, at least it's because I have a passion for it. At least it's because I know I'm good at it. At least it's because like, I know people vibe with me. And it was so fucking hard saying goodbye to my clients. Like some of my clients I've had for a couple years, and it was so hard. It's like saying goodbye to like a very fucking close friend. You know, even though it's not a friend dynamic, like, you know, but like you develop a relationship with your clients, you know? And I still have some of the things that they like gave me, like, oh, sorry. I had to take a break because I ended up crying. I always thought it was like corny to cry like on YouTube, but like here I am, you know, like I'm trying not to, like, bitch, I'm telling you. Okay. But like, you know, I think about them a lot, and it just sucks because like they were the only reasons why I stood there throughout like all that pain and like all the stress and like whatever. Like they made it worth it. And it just sucks like how everything ended up like happening, and like how people who don't even care about their clients and complain about them right after having a session, or just like not showing up, you know, to their client sessions, like my supervisor and stuff like that. Like they are still in the field and they're still doing their thing and getting licensed, and like I got fucked over for like actually having a passion for caring about people and like, you know, doing this stuff. So yeah, because of like the hurt and all that stuff and just like stuff going on in my personal life, I was like, I'm not dealing with this anymore. Like I need to take a break because like I'm like not okay, you know? Oh my God. Okay. It's been going on a year. Yeah, it hurts still. It's been like a year and it still fucking hurts. And like I can't do silly things. Like I can't like look at, you know, some of the tools I would use, like certain books that I had, or like, you know, if I think of certain things that my clients were really into, like that I see in everyday life, like it fucking hurts, you know? And it's just hard. Like I have like all my stuff, like my fucking bag that I used for work all the time. Literally everything's still in it. Like I'll literally go get it right now to show that I'm not fucking lying. So, yeah, I haven't even like opened this bag, or like I have like all these things in my gaming room. Even like my dog's crying because like I don't know, maybe she picks up on me. You know, and this is like therapy, like me crying and like doing whatever. It's therapy. I think this is why I needed to make this video, because I'm tired of explaining it to people, and plus like I'm already feeling like kind of like a little bit of a weight off my chest in a sense, you know. But like it's something that I'm still struggling with every day. But yeah, this is one of the things where I don't go into this bag anymore. I just don't like looking into like my fucking bag, because like, and all my other stuff that I have, like I can't look at it. I can't touch it. Like I can't do things because it makes me just feel like so fucking bad, you know? You know, like this is like a binder and it has personal information on it. So I'm not gonna like show it, but like it's just like paperwork. I'm not thing with like this is like a lot of the ones I ended up like exiting out of. Like I just don't like looking at this stuff, and to like prove I'm not fucking lying about this shit, like how can I like block this so you guys don't see personal information? Like, you see what I mean? Like he crosses it out, a lot of fucked up shit. So like I just don't like looking through things and dealing with it. But like maybe this is the time, now that it's out and now that I'm doing this, like I should look through this shit and I should just like sort through it and figure out whatever I want to do. And like, cause like I can't lie, like in the back of my head, like these, I do want to get back into the field. I do miss my clients, and like even if I can't see them again because of insurance purposes or whatever, like being able to have like that support, being able to be support for someone and having the passion to do stuff, like, and putting in all this work and all this effort is something that I think about all the time, you know? But I'm just like burnt and I'm hurt, and like, you know, I don't know, I think about it time and time again. But I don't know, but maybe now that it's out and maybe that I'm talking about it and like making a mess out of myself on fucking lying, I should look into it and do it, and I don't know. I just don't know. So I've been taking a break for this whole year, and I'm very fortunate that I'm in a situation where I can, like, you know, be financially able to do so, and just like be able to kind of just take a step back and have my depressive moments and not having to work. And like, I'm just very thankful and I'm very blessed. And yeah, but like it's something that I get into funks about. And I think one of the main reasons why I've been in a big funk lately is just because, like, you know, it's one of those things where the timing's coming up and it's a little bit more triggering than not during this time. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. But that's kind of like a summary as to why I stopped being a therapist. It just feels like there's a lot of things that added up, and there's a lot of bad people out there, and there's a lot of bad things that have happened that made me just not want to do it. These are the main reasons why, I guess, I decided to stop being a therapist. It was just like a bunch of bad things happening over and over and over again, and like it was just the cherry on top. That was my breaking point where I had to quit. I had to let go. And that year was already painful because like I lost like 2 of my animals that were my childhood animals, and just dealing with the stress of like people constantly bringing me down, and like it was just too much. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'm probably gonna go finish crying because I had to like force myself to stop a lot, and I love crying. We'll see if I even fucking include that because I'm embarrassed already because of that. Don't be embarrassed about crying, but I'm embarrassed because it's like very fucking YouTuber. Like, I don't know, bitch. But now you guys kind of know why I kind of quit, at least temporarily. Maybe I'll get back into it. Like I said, I play around with the idea of it, but like, bitch, I don't fucking know at this point. I don't know. I feel like it's something in the past. I feel like it's just something in the past. Like, maybe I won't be able to ever get past it. My cat is messing with my tripod. But yeah, I am gonna go. See, over it. I'm gonna go because like I just don't want that energy right now. So I'm gonna go, and I don't know, we'll have like another diary session later on. That'd be